So thus, we need sovereign nation states which represent cultures used as the medium of development of the individual human being. These experiences can be transmitted from one nation, one national culture to another, but they have to be respected in their origins. You have to replicate this continuity of this process, of this use of a language for the development and self-development of a people. So that means that you have to have a society organized around the idea of creativity. And you have to think of man as in the image of the Creator to do that. Because you have a constant creative process of the development of the universe, the development of the solar system, its history, the development of mankind, the change in the character of the planet, the change in the improvement of the biosphere, the development of the noosphere, and going on to take and manage this solar system. And then beyond that, to change the universe more and more degrees at a more higher rate. The role of man, man's destiny in the universe, is an immortal destiny in which people who are dead share with those who are living. And the sense of the value of the human being, and moral value of the human being in this sense, is the meaning of morality. All morality will go to that test. And that's precisely what we're destroying. What is this administration doing? It's bought into environmentalism, which is satanic in its effect. It will destroy the United States and destroy its people. It's satanic. That's its effect. The United States will disappear if we don't change this policy very soon. If Obama continues this policy for another couple of years, the United States is finished. And maybe most of the planet is finished too. So this is not a question of someone's opinion. This is a question of an obligation, a moral obligation, to have a policy of the United States which corresponds not only to the requirements of humanity as a whole, but to the requirements of our role within humanity as a whole. The world depends upon our getting out of this mess, because without the contribution of the United States as a nation, as a constitutional republic, it is really impossible today, given the role of the dollar up to now, given the requirement for making the dollar viable for the world as a whole, in order to ensure that China and other nations have a right to continue to live. Without that kind of system, there's no hope for humanity, except a dark age. And maybe we'll go back to the chimpanzee up process of recovery later on, 1,000 years from now, whatever. So we're dealing with a moral issue. The president's opinion is not worth anything if it's wrong. It has no authority if it's wrong. He's associated with people he shouldn't associate with. Like these behavioral creeps. Right? His chief advisor, who spends most of the face time with him in the White House. The president has no right to do this. He may be elected. And if the United States tolerates his king to continue the way he behaves, they're responsible. We bring the destruction upon ourselves by allowing him to behave in this way. We have a moral responsibility as citizens to tell this guy, straighten up, cut it out, fire these guys, fire the behavioral economists, behaviorists, fire Larry, get him out of there. That's our job. This is a moral question. You want to oppose me on this, you're immoral. Because the effect of your opposing me is immoral. It's destructive of humanity. We have to stand up on our hind legs. Now, the resources is, what you got a problem is you got the upper 20% of the family income brackets. You got a problem there. They will say, look, we don't want to hurt anybody, but look, we have a certain standard of living. I got to take care of my family. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to protect our interests. And look, we got to cut things, right? We have some austerity, right? Well, we can't, really cannot accept austerity for us. We've got to cut health care. That's what Obama is saying. To cut health care for the population in general, especially for the poorest. Cut Social Security. That's what he's saying. under these influences. Is that moral? Well, the boomers essentially will say, well, look, I know that we don't like that. That's not nice. We would prefer that didn't happen. But, you know, we've got to do it. And sometimes you have to go through suffering. Yeah, but who's suffering? Yours or theirs? The majority of the population? You want them to suffer? You've miseducated them? You spread disease. You spread conditions of disease among them. You've done all these things. No, we have a moral responsibility, not only to ourselves, but to future generations, to maintain the continuity of progress of the condition of life of human beings, and to protect human beings throughout the planet. And to protect human beings throughout the planet with the assistance of protecting ourselves as a nation, protecting our culture and its development. That's the moral obligation. That's the meaning of the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. And any president who violates that, who ignores that, is not fit to be president. Should be impeached or induced to quit. Hey, you know, come on, why don't you just retire? It hasn't worked out too well. This marriage, this honeymoon is over. You look, you're the wrong species. This honeymoon is over. It didn't work out the way we intended. Our intention was sincere, but look, you're a different species than us. You don't have different species values than ours. So the point is, when people say that I'm too critical of Obama, I'm not too critical of Obama. I'm wondering if I'm critical enough. Well, one former president thinks I was probably slow on the uptake on this one. I should have acted sooner and harsher. I think he's right. But my responsibility is not to act beyond the authority of what I know to be true. And I've acted as soon as I realized a certain condition existed and that it was true. And then I responded. Other people criticized for me. Right? Look, I'm qualified to be president, and they're not. That's why I'm in trouble often. And somebody discovered I was qualified to be the president, and they said, "Get rid of him. Get him out of here. We're happy with the chimpanzee we have in there, you know." So that's our problem. Our problem is we lack a real sense of the practical meaning of the term morality as it applies to politics and to the application of physical science and economy. We come up with these formulas, these lying, degenerate formulas. We are impressed and intimidated by what is prevalent opinion. We're intimidated by the press. We're intimidated by mass media. We're intimidated by adversary opinion. We destroy ourselves by that. That's a problem. And that's where we stand. We can save this nation. We can save civilization. The power to do that exists in our hands, if enough of us are willing to do that. We don't have to do any bad things to anyone. That's not necessary. We simply have to say, put this system into bankruptcy. Go back to the U.S. Constitution, its principles, which are unique. Go back to our history on the planet, what our true history, our true destiny, our true role is. Assert that on behalf of all humanity, not just for us. What we have to do has to be done for all humanity, for all cultures of this planet, because we're all one people. We have different cultures, and that's important to protect, because it's only through the culture that the creative potential of the individual is given its affirmation and development. So therefore we have to love all people as if they were our own. But we have to recognize that their history is different. Their cultural history is different. And therefore we have to take that into account. We take that into account through respecting national sovereignty. We take that into account through adopting the principle of Westphalia, that every people must put forth the interest of all other people first, and then their own interests will be taken care of. We have to have a society composed of sovereign nation states and sovereign peoples and sovereign cultures. But these sovereign cultures must work together to common ends, the common aims of humanity. And this is something that this President of the United States has yet to learn. I think, however, that if we rid him of the behavioral psychologists and rid him of Larry Summers that those two remedial steps will cause him to tend to be confined in his behavior to his association with his immediate peers in the cabinet and in other institutions of the federal government, and with some influence of the parties. In that case, I think he will be a manageable president. But he needs some management because he doesn't know half the things he needs to know. And he's making wild, arrogant judgments on the basis of projects where he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's just babbling nonsense. He has no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't know, he has no conception often of what the meaning is of the words that are coming out of his mouth. But he admires those words so much for their own sake that he doesn't seem to care about what they presumably mean. Anyway, so we've got a lot of questions coming in here, and we can get at them.